Hi everybody, welcome back to Aviary today for Breeding British Birds episode 10. So over the past couple of weeks we've had plenty of developments. We've got fledglings from a number of different species from our native birds. We've also weaned away a couple of juveniles from their parents, so that's the first round chicks. And finally we're going to see how the summer and the warm weather has influenced our birds as well. Starting off with our twites then. We've got a pair here, a flighted pair of birds. We've had them last season. They're not a particularly common bird in captivity. They're not the most popular either, but they're absolutely lovely to have in the bird room. These cheeky little nosy birds are just a pleasure to keep. Now, they're not the most easiest to breed either, but we have had some success with them this year. So you might remember about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had the pair on eggs and those eggs hatched. Well, I'm now pleased to say at about 12 days old, those chicks have fled to the nest and they're actually all sat down there in the bottom corner right now. They're doing really well. Their parents are feeding them very well as well. I'm having to give them a little bit more variety in what they're feeding. So they're feeding a real mix of things that you wouldn't commonly see a number of other finches. So they're feeding a lot of their hard seed, their plain diet mix for the parents, into the chicks. They're also feeding some live food, so they're getting a couple of like pinkies, mealworms, buffaloes and things like that. They're getting egg food, which is also going to the chicks, and germinated seed. So they're taking on plenty of variety, but so far we've got 3 very healthy chicks, which I'm really pleased to report. The parents are doing a great job so far, so let's hope that continues. So nipping out here in the young bird room then, this is where we've got all the young birds, of course, that we breed in a season. This is where we house all of them to molt out and then obviously develop and mature. So you might recognise at the top we have some of our young North Dutch frills that we bred in April or May time, but we've now weaned off the first young native birds. So these are from the first round essentially. So we have here a group of 4 green finches. This is just a nest of 4. They're all nest mates. You might remember we bred them about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago. They hatched, I think. So we've weaned them off. They're feeding themselves fine. They've filled out, so they've grown their tails correctly now and fully. I think there's 2 cocks and 2 hens in there, but not quite sure yet. But they're looking nice. I can see that the quality's there, and hopefully they'll fill out a bit more as they mature and obviously grow up into adult birds in their first year. And then we have a group of 8 lesser Redpolls. So these are from, I think, 3 or 4 nests. We had 2 pairs rear 1 chick each, a pair rear 2 and a pair rear 4, I think. But we've got a small group of them here, all looking really good. The quality is certainly there. It's they're a species that, in terms of show quality, you can kind of, I want to say, judge it from when they sort of leave the nest. You can tell if it's a good or bad bird because they've got a depth of colour to them. That's the first thing, and they've also got the striations on their chests. So that's always a good sign, and I can say that so far they're looking really good. So I am pleased with that. Now, it's really hot at the moment. It's about 27 or 28 degrees at the moment, and to put that into perspective for you, for those of you who live in hot countries where that's normal, it's previously been about 10 to 15 degrees, so it's nearly doubled. So it is very hot at the moment, and that is why I've actually just put them in double breeders. I would put them generally in those sort of flight cages. I'll open it all up and they'll have the whole run, but they can sometimes panic a little bit. It gets a bit warm, so I just wanted to make it so they're not doing a lot of strenuous exercise. They're able to cool down and just not waste their energy and get too hot from exercising. So that's working well at the moment. I'm also giving them some fresh millet. So I've got some frozen millet in the freezer. I've been popping that in for them and they absolutely love it. So that's been going down a treat. And of course, fresh water every day, a good seed mix, and of course, some egg food and a couple of pinkies as well. On the topic of our lesser Redpolls, we've got some great stories come from them so far this season, and that past couple of weeks has lived up to that as well. So out of the 6 pairs that we went into the breeding season with, we've produced young from 5 of them, which is really good news. It's only this pair here that are yet to actually produce us anything, and the hen has built up, so fingers crossed that will come. But what I want to tell you about is this pair up here. So if we only had to breed off one single pair this year, it was that pair that I wanted it to be. Those two birds are of very good quality and are really important for my stud, my bloodline that I'm building going forward. We have a hen in here that I bred last year. She did very well at the shows for me. And we have an outcross cockbird from an unbelievably successful line in the UK who I was very keen to breed off because we've only got him on loan for this breeding season. Anyway, about 2 weeks ago now, we had a nest of 5 chicks hatch. We lost one of the chicks at about a day old. It was the youngest one, it was the smallest one. Sadly, it just wasn't fed enough. But what we do have is 4 chicks now fledged the nest at 14 days old. So they're flying around in there, terrorising their parents, shouting for food, but they're all doing really well. Both parents have been involved in rearing them, which is always good to see. And I'm just hoping that all going well, they will make it to adulthood. So keep your fingers crossed for that. They are already starting to pick up food for themselves and drinking, which is very advanced for 14 days old, but that's quite a quick turnaround for Redpolls. Another story coming from the lesser Redpolls in the past couple of weeks was from this pair. So I'm going to take you back to 10 days ago when their chicks first hatched. So just behind me, a pair of lesser Redpolls are 11 days into incubation. And look what I've just found on the floor. It looks like when the mother was cleaning the nest, removing a couple of the eggshells, she accidentally throwed one of the chicks out and it was on the floor. I found it on the floor underneath the nest site, really cold. Now thankfully, after warming it up in my hand, it's coming round and we're going to now pop it back into the nest. And now, 10 days later, in that nest site there at the back, from the 5 eggs which hatched, we have 5 chicks, all doing remarkably well at 10 days old and ready to jump the nest any day now. When breeding native birds, I always look to nature for answers in conditioning our birds to keep them in the best health. And that's why over the past couple of years, I've been planting a number of fruit trees in the garden. And that's why right here, we have a red currant bush. So this is the favourite snack of our bullfinches. So native bullfinches or Siberian bullfinches, they absolutely love red currants. So I've been growing this for a couple of years now. There's probably several hundred berries on that, so I'm going to pick some of them, put them in for the bullfinches and see what they think. So then finally we have a pair of green finches in the penthouse suite, which we have some amazing news from. So if you're not familiar with this pair, we have a 2021 bred cockbird I bred about 3 years ago now. He is doing really well. He has won me countless awards at the exhibitions, but I've never had an awful lot of success trying to breed off him. We also have a hen. She's an outcross I brought in this past winter. She's done a bit of winning on the show bench herself, but is an outstanding bird once again. So as you can imagine, I'm very keen to breed off this pair, and we have achieved just that. So after their first round failed attempt, which had clear eggs, their second round, they had 5 eggs. All 5 eggs were full, and we now have 5 greenfinch chicks flying around the aviary at about 17 or 18 days old. They fledged the nest at about 12 days. They had the first sort of 2 days on the floor. They discovered their wings and ever since have been up on the perches, flying about, chasing their parents, shouting for food, and their parents have been obliging. They've been feeding them non-stop. The chicks are pretty big, to be honest with you, for their age as well. They're filling out nicely. They've already got some of those exhibition qualities we're looking for. They've got the size, the colour looks to be there, and the feather quality does look good as well. So whilst there's no guarantees and it's still early days, I'm hoping this might be the start of a number of show birds for the upcoming show season this winter. So keep your fingers crossed. So anyway, everyone, that's all we've got time for this week's episode of Breeding British Birds from OC Aviary. So if you'd like to see more, make sure to smash a like on this video, subscribe down below, follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok, and make sure to subscribe to the second channel, OC Aviary Shorts, for more bird keeping content. So thank you very much for watching once again. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.